Before I tell you some of my personal thoughts on this, I just wanted to make it absolutely clear that actually my colleagues on the Equality and Diversity Council understand that the North West is ahead of the rest of the country in terms of what we've been doing. And actually that will come out in what you hear today, and therefore what you will hear today around an equality delivery system is very much based on what we've been working on in terms of our equality performance improvement toolkit that you know and love and you've been working with for ages. We're trying to do two things today. We're trying to feed back upwards with our colleagues from the department who are absolutely, I know, committed to listening. We're trying to feed back our view about whether what's been designed, this equality delivery system, is actually likely to work or not. One of the other things that turns me off, as well as acronyms, is management jargon. But if I was describing the management jargon in that way, it would be, is it fit for purpose? What I would say is, will it work? Will this approach work? And actually, if we believe this approach will work, what actually do we need to do with it to make it work? So is it the approach that we're bothered about, or is it the how we deliver that approach that concerns us? So our first task today is to make sure that if we have ideas about whether it will work, and we have questions about it will only work if we do X, Y, and Z with it, that we feed that back up. The second purpose for being here today, which is equally important, is so that actually this is a start of a process of getting us engaged in this, and therefore it's starting to warm us up, get our commitment. What we know is that if we get a chance to offer our views and our views are listened to, then the chances are we'll have more of a commitment to making it work. So bear those two things in mind, a stage of getting our commitment, and then the first stage is letting people know our views. But I would come back to what I said at the start. You have to recognise how we in the North West, and in particular our leaders, Shahnaz and team, have managed to influence this process and are managing to convince the Equality and Diversity Council that what they need to do is to mirror what's been going on very successfully in the North West over the last couple of years.
Now, the purpose and scope of the EDS. Its purpose is to drive up the quality performance of the NHS and embed equality into mainstream NHS business. As all of you know, we've had a history in NHS of islands of good practice, maybe championed by someone who either gets burnt out or leaves, and once they leave, that whole idea dies. And there's no system memory to record what has been done, and maybe that initiative gets started up later on as if nothing had happened before. EDS is a way of trying to embed what's happened and have a system memory of what's been done, and have some way to make that carry on, irrespective of who the champion is. It applies to NHS commissioners and NHS providers, and we use those terms because we're not exactly sure what the NHS architecture will be later on. So it applies to current providers and commissioners, as well as GP consortia later on, and foundation trusts at the moment. It does not apply to the independent providers that GP consortia might contract with. But what we expect to happen is with the contract the GP consortia have with them, that's how the equality and diversity will buy it. It helps the NHS deliver positive outcomes in line with the white paper and government priorities. It has lots of outcomes related to patients, staff, and it helps the NHS to meet the CQC registration. We've done great pains to try and match what the Care Quality Commission is expecting to mirror that in the outcomes and expectations. So once you comply with this, it will help you to comply with your CQC registration. Helps to meet NHS, the timing of the EDS implementation will ensure that equality is built into the new NHS. A lot of people are saying, well, is this the right time to do it? Well, lots of changes happening, and we want to make sure that equality is seen as core business. So while all the changes are happening, we want to make sure the GP consortia are considering it, all the reform is happening across the NHS, that they're all taking on board equality and diversity. Because otherwise, if we wait till everything's settled down, that might be 2-3 years down the line, and by then it might be too late to influence the agenda. This is the timeline that we're working to. Summer, autumn, we've been doing design engagement. We've done something like 30 events across the country. This month, full proposal endorsed by the EDC will go to the NHS Management Board. And I know we've got our EDC meeting, I think it was on the 18th, and some proposal will be going to the EDC as well for that. We've already sent an outline of what we're trying to do to Paul Burstow, MP, and he likes what we're doing. So the government has got some idea of what we're doing, and they've given us a green light. They like the way we're moving on it. In November, we'll begin the formal consultation, which will go on to around February, and that includes an impact assessment, a full equality impact assessment, and of course will involve patient groups, staff groups, and a whole range of voluntary organisations in that full equality impact assessment. We're looking for early adopters, and we've been overwhelmed the number of people who actually want to come forward and take on board the EDS. In fact, some want to do it now, not wait until April 2011. What we're going to do, we're going to choose about 15 that represent the diversity of NHS providers and organisations across, so we can get a clear example of how it might work for different organisations, and that will be evaluated. For most people, it's going to be launched as a voluntary basis, but I think with you guys, it's going to be something you're going to move from EPIT onto the EDS. So far, we've had all of the North West, North East, and all the South West region. All those trusts have said they want to do it, and a number of other trusts in other regions have said they want to do it as well. So, the going looks good at the moment.
Yes, in terms of the grades, we fought tooth and nail to kind of keep to the grading system that we'd kind of set up within the North West. Because if we changed that, we would have been truly derailed then. So but the only difference here is that what we did in the North West, which was, a decision that we had to make, and because we'd done quite a lot of work, because by the time we got to EPIT, there'd been a 2-year journey already. We didn't have a grade for underdeveloped, which is like non-compliance really. Our decision was that we would keep the 3, but if we felt from the evidence that we were getting back that organisations were not developing, then they'd have a short period of time to get there, rather than show them up as non-compliant. And that was about risk, because also we've got a platform which is it's on our website. All the stakeholders can look at it. So that we decided in the region that we weren't going to do that. But nationally, I think the other people who were on the working group were saying that actually there's lots of organisations in the system that are at that level, because in most of the other regions they haven't been doing all the kind of work, this whole movement coming up. So in terms of the grading, and the way that they'll kind of then show up is red, amber and green, and gold star for excellence. In terms of Tony's sort of gone into some of this, and I think the difference between EPIT and EDS is how the assessments, because with EPIT we had self-assessments, organisations self-assess, and because we had clear lines of accountability in terms of the PCTs, the commissioners being responsible to the SHA, and the providers through their lead commissioning arrangements being responsible to commissioners, we used those lines of accountability. The SHA then verified the commissioners, and the commissioners verified their providers. This system changes in that sense, so the assessments are actually done in conjunction with all these stakeholders, and obviously some of the questions that are probably coming up in your mind have come up by the working group as well, is that's a huge challenge.